So what happens, she says, if what is real is defined in terms of what can be known by the five senses, then reality seems to include only the material world, right? Because that's all that we can experience by our five senses. But if you track empiricism, she says, to its logical conclusion, it takes a surprising turn inward, right, towards the mind, right? It signals an important, and this signals an important trend in Western thought from materialism to mentalism, right? And so she tells us, think of it this way. Empiricism says that the only source of genuine knowledge is sense impressions. All right, so just what we can experience by our senses, right? Sight, sounds, and so forth. But how do we know whether our sense impressions are true and accurate, right? I mean, it's not like we can step outside of our mind, right, or our head and check the world against our sense impressions. We can't do that. So how do we know, right? And they can fool us, right? You put a spoon in a glass of water and it looks bent, right? And so
train tracks meet at a point all the time.
Yeah, right? So how do we test our sense experience? She says the answer is that for the strict empiricist, we can't test them. Right? And so it's impossible to step out of our mind, as I mentioned, and try to make these tests. And so empiricist philosophers themselves recognize then that this is a problem. What's the problem? They're stuck in their minds. Right? That's as far as they can go, right? According to empiricism, our mind constructs the concepts of a table out of a cluster of sensations, but we cannot step outside of our minds to discover what the eternal world is like in itself. We're kind of stuck in our minds, right? And
help.
Right? She quotes Morpheus in the Matrix, which is another movie that we could probably spend a lot of time on.
Yeah. Oh man, if it wasn't for the Matrix, would philosophy be where it's at today?
Yeah. So he says, how do you define reality, right? Remember that?
Yeah, of course.
So, if you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Do you think that's air you're breathing?
Yeah. So Hume seems to have, accepted this bizarre conclusion, she tells us, right? He wrote, let us chase our imaginations to the heavens or to the utmost limits of the universe. We never really advance a step beyond ourselves. We live in the universe of the imagination. So there we are. We're stuck in it, and even Hume realized it, right? And so the upshot, she says, is that if we begin solely with sense impressions, then we will end with sense impressions, right? And so using sensory experience alone, there's no way to build a bridge from the internal mental images to the external world. We're trapped in the prison house of our minds. Wow, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, right. The whole brain in the vat, or you don't really ever think of yourself as a brain inside your head, inside the body. You're not praying from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles being carried along by his body. So there seems like there's an issue there.